The goal of the Crowbar Awards is to help aspiring advertisers break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that all year round by releasing a new creative brief for you all to work on with up to 2 other friends. It takes a great portfolio to break into advertising, so we release a new brief every quarter, which, if I do my math correctly, comes out to 4 briefs a year in total. So let's break this down. In a year, if you work hard, you can have a solid portfolio of 4 campaigns to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And that's it. We give out fun creative briefs for you to work on, but some people go the extra mile and submit their creative campaign to the Crowbar Award Show, where our guest judge for the quarter will pick the top 4 winners. But unlike standard award shows, we give out crowbars. They're symbolic. They're awards, yes, but the Crowbar Awards are symbolic to represent you breaking into advertising. We have gold, silver, and bronze crowbar winners each quarter. But there is one that stands above the rest. We give one campaign submission group the highest honor of the Blue Crowbar. We mail them actual blue crowbars, not only symbolic, but they also literally and physically help you break in to your favorite agencies. And that leads us to where we're at now. 4 months ago, we launched the second brief ever of the Crowbar Awards and received so many incredible submissions from aspiring advertisers across the country. The Breaking and Entering team asked you all to develop a brand identity and creative marketing campaign that establishes Microsoft's Bing as the undisputed pound-for-pound champion for generative AI in the minds of consumers. And our friend Kellyn Blount, ECD of Preacher, which is a hot independent advertising shop in Austin, Texas, to judge, and she did so with excitement. So you will hear the Blue Crowbar winners meet their creative idol and gain genuine praise and feedback from Kellyn herself. And who knows, maybe Kellyn will call them one day to come work for Preacher. It's a beautiful thing we have going on here. So the winning team, their idea is Mommy to Bing, and that blew the Breaking and Entering team away. Then, when Kellyn also mentioned it was the strongest idea, we knew we had our Blue Crowbar winners. Alex, Dagostino, Maxwell, Israel's, Alexis, Bradley, and Hannah Biddlecome were this quarter's Blue Crowbar winners. And we start off the episode with their intros, and then they'll go on to explain their idea. So here's the celebration. And before we begin, you too can have the chance to meet a creative legend and receive a crowbar. We have Eric Coleman, founder and chief creative officer of Eric & Coleman, judging this current brief, which is live now and due September 30th. Before founding Eric & Coleman, Eric was an ECD at Goodby Silverstein Partners, where he was named one of the top 10 chief creatives in the country by Adweek. So this brief, this Q3's brief, the brand is Amtrak. We're asking you to create a campaign for the train travel company to show humans that's more about the journey than the destination. Check it out and apply with your creative pals. The brief is live now. You can find that on www.crowbarawards.com. That's crowbarawards.com. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Crowbar Celebration episode for Q2. And we are your accomplices, Gino Schellenberger and Cooper Kolvig. Kick it, Mikey. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Crowbar Award Show with our Blue Crowbar winners for our second quarterly Crowbar Award Show. This is our second one ever doing this. So I want to thank you all and congratulate the winners here. We have an amazing team here. We'll go through intros in a little bit, but first I want to thank you, Kellyn, who you were our guest judge for this quarter. The brief we'll talk about how you selected the Blue Crowbar winners. As a reminder, we have blue is number one. If you win the Blue Crowbar, you come on the show, just like our wonderful folks here. And then there's gold, and then there's silver, and then there's bronze. What we're trying to do, right, Kellyn, is give everybody feedback that places.
Mm-hmm.
So this was our second award show, and we had a lot of great submissions. And how it works from high level for all of our listeners as well. And then we'll get into the good stuff. You can work with a team, and then you submit. And then what we do, which is Cooper Kolvig, who's our strategist on Breaking and Entering. He works in Chicago, a good friend of mine, and myself, and then Buchin, who's our creative director. We comb through the mass amount of submissions that we get. And then with the guest judge, we send out our shortlist. Like, hey, Kellyn, here are these are our shortlists, and we think these will be great. These are our favorites, but we send also, Kellyn, you can look through all the submissions as well, in case we don't know what we're talking about. You're the expert. So Kellyn then goes through and picks her, and she ranks those shortlists. And yeah, the blue winners get invited on. So I'll toss it to you, Kellyn. You want to start with intro and yourself? You're over in Austin, I believe.
Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas. My name is Kellyn, like you said, Kellyn Blount. I am an executive creative director at Preacher, which I think you guys all know that now. I've been here I'm going into my 7th year at Preacher. Started when we were about 2 years old, still very much in startup mode. And now we're grown up, or maybe, I don't know, maybe we're like teenagers. I'm not sure.
Hopefully you skip that. I had a tough adolescent phase.
Where no one's slamming any doors. No one's telling them their mother they
don't understand me.
Yeah, and that's not happening here. We've really grown into ourselves, and I feel like one thing about Preacher is we're very true to our convictions. We stand by what we believe in. I think we've gotten more flexible over the years, as most agencies do when they grow. But it's a wonderful place to be. It's a wonderful place to work.
Wonderful branding as well. Yeah. I'm looking at the website. It's beautiful, consistent.
I was just at the Small Agency Awards the other night in Atlanta, and that is like the number one thing people say to me when they meet me and they find out that I'm with Preacher. It's immediately like, oh man, your branding is so great. Your branding is so great.
I love it.
Very funny to me. But yeah, we care a lot about it. We treat it like a client, but it's our own. It's like our own little baby. And we have a store in our office, a little shop that you can come into and buy hats and t-shirts and jackets and koozies and bags and blankets and lighters. And it goes on and on and on. You can also buy them on the website. But yeah, it's interesting to watch other agencies be so, have so much admiration for that. And it's very sweet.
I love it.
We're humbled.
I see a bunch of Small Agency of the years. You got 2022, 2020, 2019, Agency Standout 2021. List goes on. 2018.
We won this year. We got gold.
And you got gold. So 2023.
Yeah.
So you must be doing something right. And also we interviewed Seth Gaffney, partner and also chief strategy officer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That was a few months back. And I was like, we got to have Preacher on. And I hit up Seth and I met you and I'm like, this is perfect. Like it just made sense to have you on. So it's not easy. And I thank you again, but I want to now shift it and introduce the winners, the Blue Crowbar winners. And then we'll go through intros. Tell us, we'll start with Maxwell because we kind of agreed upon that before the show. We're going to just start with Maxwell and then loop around. Let us know where you go to school. Let us know your age or what year or what you're up to and what's your dream job. Give us a little what your role was on the project. Just take it away, Maxwell. Lead us off strong here.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful intro, Gino. For me, I am Maxwell Israel. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I attended Calvin University for my undergrad, and I'm there right now for my postgraduate in media and strategic communication. I really want to go into either sports marketing or just general agency work in an advertising sense. In between my undergraduate and my graduate studies, I spent about a year and a half working in film production, but mostly making advertising and marketing for different small businesses and nonprofits. And I think that kind of experience has really helped as we've gone on to do things like this Mommy to Bring campaign for this brief and different things where you're trying to uplift a certain message to a large audience.
Amazing. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, Hannah, you take it next.
Yeah. My name's Hannah Biddlecome, and I, just like Max, studied my undergrad in film and media production at Calvin University, and am now completing my master's in strategic communication and media at Calvin University. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, actually. Yeah, and I moved up to Michigan a little bit before college, and then my family moved right when I committed to go to Calvin, but I've kind of spent the good parts of the weather up at Calvin. So summers down in Texas were a little hot, and I took the winters back up in Calvin and Michigan. So it's been a really weird transition of where I live or not and where I'm from. But I guess I should probably say Grand Rapids now. I'm really interested in similar strengths as the rest of us here. I would love to go into sports broadcasting. I would love to work in big time advertising and marketing campaigns. I'm also at a point where the more that I learn about advertising and agency skills, the more I'm trying to decide on what I want to do. So every new day brings like new lessons and new interest for me. So while I think I might know what I want to do right now, I'm definitely know it's probably going to change in like a week and then another month and another year. But I did more video work on this campaign. I did more kind of story structure, working with Max in the editing booth and really trying to figure out how our campaign board was going to align with what we were producing visually, and just trying to make this really important issue, this really important project come to life.
Amazing. So nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Alex, you're up.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Alex Dagostino. Unlike Max and Hannah, I actually went to Grand Valley State University, also in Grand Rapids, but a different school. And my undergraduate is a bit of a whirlwind. So it was communication studies with emphases in health communication and healthcare ethics with a minor in advertising and public relations. So I think that healthcare component of my undergrad is what really drew me to the idea of Mommy to Bing. Since graduating from Grand Valley, I've held a few positions. I am currently working as the digital marketing manager for a financial service for dentists, and I really enjoy my work there. But like Hannah and Max, I am also in graduate school at Calvin University for media and strategic communication. In terms of a dream job, I think similar to Hannah, I'm learning something new every day, especially being in school again. So while I really enjoy the work that I'm doing now, I am particularly interested in both advertising and public relations, and still kind of going through the motions to narrow that down a bit.
Very cool.
Wonderful. And Alexis, you're up.
Hi, I'm Alexis. You all can call me Lexi. First, I would just like to say thank you for the introduction and thank you for allowing us to be here. It is really such a wonderful opportunity. Like Max and Hannah, I'm also a Calvin graduate. I graduated with a bachelor's in sociology, and I am back at Calvin 2 years later, getting my master's in media and strategic communication. I am currently the social media coordinator at AK Ricks. It is a luxury boutique here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So anything from post, copy for the post, or social media stories for Instagram, Facebook, and such. That is all of my work. Currently, right now, I'm in the same boat as my teammates. I feel like I can go wherever, but recently I've just had a really big interest in advertising and public relations, I would say. I feel like those are my big two. But honestly, in this program with us learning so much, like Hannah, it could honestly change tomorrow.
I hear you on that.
That's awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all. And once again, congrats. I want to speak a little bit about the brief. This is not an easy brief. It was kind of a challenge. And Cooper, like I said, he's rafting right now, I think in Colorado. So he's living a good life, and we're sorry that he can't make it, but we want to make sure that you guys get your crowbars and the show goes on. So I'm going to do my best to speak about it at the high level. So we know the brand was Microsoft Bing, and the goal here was the AI arms race is underway. It has no plans of slowing down. Your goal: develop a brand identity and creative marketing campaign that establishes Microsoft Bing as the, I like these boxing references he put in here, undisputed pound for pound champion of generative AI in the minds of the consumers. Where do you guys go from here? Kellyn, what did you think when you saw, we showed you this brief, like if you got this, how do you handle this from a professional level? Like, how would you have tweaked this brief? Like, how do you, like, if you
changed his
like,
beautiful brief?
Or what would you have done? I guess it started with you. Like, from the expert?
Well, I think when you called me, guys, when you called me, I vaguely remember being like, "Man, I hate AI."
Yeah. Yeah, this is like 3 months ago, and it already feels like it's changed.
I've grown. I've learned so much in the last 3 months. I've evolved. But AI is a scary thing. It's a scary thing. And I think it's scarier when you don't understand it. Yes. And so at the time, I think I was definitely in the phase of, all I'm hearing is this is going to take jobs and this is going to ruin the world. And then this is the end. And the more I've gotten to know it and work with it and try and understand it and its powers and limitations, I'm definitely more willing to embrace it than I was before. The brief I thought was interesting. I enjoyed the boxing references. I enjoy any brief that has a strong point of view, that whether or not it's bogus or not, like we can debate that. But if it feels like it has some passion or some direction around a theory or an idea or an insight, then, that's great. That's way better than very bland kind of just, hey, do it all type of briefs. So yeah, I think there was an opportunity with a brief like this to be bold. And it's big. It's like, hey, just basically introduce Bing to the world, Bing AI to the world. That's basically what it is. Interpretation of it. Yeah,
and this was at the time when like Bard was trying to like they were, I don't know what the current state is. Like there was Bard and there was Bing. It seemed like I don't know if ChatGPT is integrated with Bing or not, but it was like kind of like a race to see.
It is. Yeah, I think it still is.
It still is. And what I got a note here from Cooper, he said we wanted to get a brief going that was relevant in the tech world. There's also a potential for a new brand to take over the way we search, an opportunity for the tables to be turned. Google has been like this traditional search, like engine results page was challenged at the time, and we wanted to leave it open for a strategist. So this was Cooper's also thought process, wanting to leave this brief open for a strategist to develop a unique consumer insight that could help drive the shift in primary searching behavior. Mm-hmm. And he said that you guys all met this the best. So
I would agree. I think is it okay if we talk about?
Yeah, I do want to get them to now. Yeah. I want them to talk. We talked a little bit about the brief, so people, have a little bit of understanding. I'll mention that in the intro as well. Okay. When I record in the beginning, so there'll be a little bit more context. But yes, I want to open it up to you all, the winners here, to get your take and what the idea was and walk us through it. So whoever wants to take the stab at explaining the campaign, feel free. And this could be whoever.
Really quickly, before we go into the campaign, I wanted to just address our research process that brought us there, because everything.
Yeah. Set the stage. Yeah.
It's just everything y'all just talked about was stuff when we sat there and we looked at the brief and we kind of came together, and we're all master's students and tried to put heads together to how we were going to tackle this. Is really reflective of what you just said. Is none of us here really knew too much about AI ourselves or wanted to know more about it. So it's not a brief in terms of some really fun, exciting product that sells itself. It was a difficult challenge to approach it from a generation that can use technology well and is meant to, and trying to like push that onward. And like you guys said, seeing the different possibilities and opportunities that Microsoft Bing's AI can offer. So we did a lot of interviews. We did a lot of secondary research. I mean, we racked our brains for weeks about this before we actually got into idea creation and production mode for like, what is going to really sell this AI, because there's so much fear around it. There's so much unknown like factors. There's so much references in pop culture that immediately turns like viewers and audiences off of the idea. So just in general, the brief I thought was really incredible, because at first it seems like something we don't want to do because we know it's going to be hard, but it forced a lot of us to like step out of our own brains and view it from so many different angles that I would not have done had I not had this opportunity. So it was a good brief. And someone else can talk about the campaign.
Yeah. So you mentioned you did a lot of research in the beginning, just like what we do in the agency world. And you said you talked with people, you did your own surveys, I'm assuming, as well. So a lot of, even if you didn't feel like this was like something you're super passionate about, like from time to time in agency life, you'll have to work on clients you don't necessarily love. Mm-hmm. And that's a good muscle to flex and train too. So what happened then after that? What was the big insight, or what was how did you guys get to Mommy to Bing? So I'll let you guys tell that story.
I think to echo what Kellyn was talking about, this whole idea of fear and the unknown as it pertains to AI was something that we found to be a common theme throughout our research. And so after we came together and shared our research with one another and put our heads together to start coming up with ideas, I think we all walked away initially with the idea that we needed to channel this fear into something else. So there was a lot of conversation about channeling fear into hope. And that's really where I think the birth of Mommy to Bing came from. But prior to that, as a team, we all sat around and threw around ideas for weeks, trying to play with this idea of channeling fear into hope and not taking away people's jobs, and showcasing this new technology in a way that people would be receptive to beyond their own concerns, beyond what it may or may not do for just one individual.
Love it.
I love that.
So I'll piggyback off of Alex.
Yeah.
So Mommy to Bing, I'll preface with this. Recently, I got married last year, and I have started to get a lot of the questions of, are you going to have a baby soon? Are you guys going to start a family? And I know that, like, as a Black woman, that is probably one of my biggest fears is childbirth, just due to the amount of other Black women that I've spoken to. My sister was one. I know that she had a very rough experience with my first nephew. I believe she had preeclampsia and tragically almost passed away due to that. So with that being introduced to us, I just thought, and it was like a play on words, and I was like, okay, like, what about Mommy to Bing? Like, let's just think of a way where, since it's centered around fear, where we can actually help. And I mean, pregnancy, like that's never ending. That's always going to happen. It's never going to stop. So this may be new, but Black women are, I want to say, 2 to 3 times more likely to die due to pregnancy complications. So I felt that I think another thing that we talked about was having reliable sources and it coming up with factual data, not like every other AI resource. So that's something that we also wanted to highlight as well, is that this can be your go-to if you have any questions, any concerns, even if like your doctors are giving you the runaround, or other moms are giving you the runaround, or just like giving you old remedies. And it's like, it's good for you to know for yourself. And so that's where Mommy to Bing was birthed. It was birthed from that thought of you having that go-to resource 24/7 whenever you needed it.
I wanna give Lexi a little bit more credit here too. The way that we went around the idea process was each of us individually like sat with an idea that we thought Bing could take control of and ran with it for like a couple of weeks, trying to really fine tune it and figure out what was going to be the strongest thing, what sets it apart from Google, any other search engine, which makes it the pound for pound champion of AI. And we presented it to each other over and over and over again. We were trying to figure out, like, is my idea going to survive? Is somebody else's more important? Like, what is going to be the best thing here that we can produce? And I remember sitting in our class and like watching Lexi give her brief over like Mommy to Bing. And it was very clear to me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us after that was an idea our team wanted to pursue, because it means a lot more than just, oh, I want to use Bing to learn how to cook, or I want to use Microsoft or AI to, answer questions about my homework or anything like that, which are all important things and all things that AI can do. But Mommy to Bing and using two things that are scary, AI and pregnancy, and like forging them together on a new path that's going to help you with reliable information and unbiased information, which is the problem with Black pregnancy in America, was way more inspiring than I think a lot of the other ideas we were trying to pitch around, and it just meant a lot more. So that's kind of, I just wanted to give her a little bit more credit there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hearts.
I think incredible, and I do appreciate all the context here. So now, Kellyn, I want to know your thought process as you were looking through the short list that we provided and the rest of the submissions. Like, what stood out to you with this campaign, and why did it win the Blue Crowbars?
Yeah. Like I said before, AI is this big unknown. It's scary to the majority of people out there. And it has this kind of inhumane personality. And with Mommy to Bing, you instantly made it human. But the type of human, right, that people want. I found that like it was such a clear, like, hey, this isn't just like a big computer tech monster thing that's going to spit you out all the information you need to have and cut your time in half and make the world faster and smart. It didn't have that kind of energy. It had this very relatable element and idea and essence to it of like, this is such a wonderful piece of tech that can help so many people. And we're putting people first through our technology, and we're going to show up in a way that actually truly can change the world in a positive way. So, I mean, just on the surface, I looked at it and I said, well, that should exist. Like this, I wish that the world would be a happier, better, more wonderful place if this was real, right? If this was a true initiative. And so that was, win one for me, is just any idea that's like that. Well, wow, is that going to make the world better? Great, because that doesn't happen in advertising, right? We don't really make the world better often. We entertain, and of course we do other things too. But making the world better, that's more rare. And so I was really attracted to that. And then truly, like from a strategic standpoint, the fact that you kind of you took the tech and you made it something that people hadn't thought about it before in that way. And I thought that was really refreshing. And of course, then my mind starts going of like, well, where else could you take this? Could this be helping cancer patients? And even outside of the medical community, where else could you go? And is this kind of oh, sorry. I think is that me?
It could be me. Everybody else is muted.
Yeah, it's gone now.
It's gone now.
Okay.
So we'll take care of that later. No stress.
But yeah, I thought it was really very well done. Also, executionally, you guys did a really wonderful job through the video, through the case study. It was very clear, which I, of course, love, and I instantly understood it. It didn't take me reading or, watching a 6-minute thing. It was like, okay, I get this right away. This is... Yeah, very clear, very impactful. And I think that's wonderful in something like this. So kudos.
And I love what you mentioned, Kellyn, about having it legs to go to other social causes, and that was what was really inspiring to me as well. That this could be picked up and help so many more people and address so many other issues. Yeah. So I thought this was by far, it blew me away, blew our team away. So we were really pumped, Kellyn, when you also agreed.
Oh, good.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
But now I think, but just as talking about how great it is, constructive criticism and like learning and, breaking into the industry is all about, improving. Mm-hmm. So Kellyn, I want to know, like, how could this have improved? If this was your team that came up with it, what feedback would you give it? Because this is the most important part of the whole episode.
Yeah.
Right. We should be gracious and thinking and grateful for any sort of feedback to tweak it, to add to the portfolio, to show recruiters. This is where the good stuff comes in. So Kellyn, how could they have improved upon it? And then any other comments we want to address about the campaign in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. I at first glance going through it, I felt as though it was slightly changing the brief. It was taking a little bit of a different angle. Now, hearing y'all's backgrounds and where you're coming from now is helpful context, honestly. So thank you for that. But yeah, traditionally, I would have read that brief and thought more, the job here is to introduce Bing AI really to the masses. And what is that platform? And, what are we going to riddle the world with their message? And how are we truly going after Google? Like the other monster or the other ones, right? ChatGPT, all the other players. And so by making this kind of a slightly more like niche thing that also it technically is expanding on the tech, it is creating a slightly new product, is a little bit of a like a little sidestep. Now, does that mean that it's not effective? No, it is effective. It's an effective idea. Again, like I said before, the world will be a better place. It was really well crafted. All of those things were yes. But if I was to go put it in my book, I'd probably change the setup, right? Like how you say, how you go from, hey, this was the task and this is where we went. Because there was a little bit of like, whoa, we're over here now. But like I said, it's still really wonderful. And I appreciate that you guys sat with it, looked at it in such a different way and really dissected it and thought, okay, yeah, how are we going to really separate ourselves? And it does do that. That's why it won. It does separate. It's just not it's not the type of idea that's necessarily like, hey, this is a big brand campaign for everyone. So that's that really small distinction. Now, when I started thinking about it in other ways of where else could this go, and really this credibility aspect, the fact that that's really, hearing you guys talk through that's a really interesting part of the idea, is that Bing is so credible, it can almost play doctor, which we have to be a little careful with that, but that's where things start getting scary, but also kind of fun. That unlocks a lot for the brand itself of like, hey, we're not just, again, the other guys are talking about how fast and how much and how all the time you're going to save. And this has none of that. This is quality. That's the big distinction. And I think that is a big idea that you could roll out to the masses as like, if you were to extend the campaign. And then this is a proof point to it, right? This is like, and look at what we're doing over here. And this is why you should believe in it, because it can behave this way. So it's more of it's a critique, but also like, and you could maybe keep going with it to get it there.
And spoken like an amazing creative director, ECD, elevating, figuring out what was amazing about the idea and then adding more. And like, how do you blow it up bigger? And I think you did that wonderfully. Any questions from the group here about that feedback specifically? And then really, I just want to keep it to an open discussion after that. Like any questions you have about the industry and how to break in, you can ask Kellyn or myself. But first, let's address the campaign, that feedback, if there's anything needed there. And whoever wants to speak up, if they have anything, or you can say, that was perfect feedback, we're going to apply that and we have no questions. that's also good too.
No, question me.
I have a comment, and I want to say that I really did appreciate you saying that we can expand on this. I do want to reiterate that Mommy to Bing isn't just for Black moms, it's for all the moms out there. But again, like, I didn't think about us expanding to other medical issues or how it can be beneficial in that area, but that I feel like just brought a whole lot of other ideas to my head now. So I just appreciate your feedback. It was very great and much needed for us.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I myself am a mother of 2 and I live in Texas. So we can just end the sentence there. But a resource like that, I mean, that was the first, I'm clearly white. I'm not, but I saw this case study and I was like, I could use this. I could use this now. I mean, it's truly, it hits home. I mean, it's a very real thing for all women. And then that's why I was like, oh man, there's other people in my life who've gone through other things like cancer, or whatever. And I was like, same need, right? Like there's people out there who don't get the care they need. And it is big in that essence or in that sense. So yeah, kudos. And that's, I think why it was so special to me when I saw it. 'Cause I was like, this is bigger, this is big on its own. And it's so important and valuable on its own, but I know there's truth here that can go other places and really does work for the tech in a really lovely way.
Yeah, I was going to say, just based off of the critique, it's super helpful and eye-opening to see, like, as all of us kind of being students here and people who are trying to break into an advertising industry, I'm sure everyone on this podcast could agree that when you're so passionate about an idea, and all of our work involves like creativity and loving ideas, loving different aspects, different social like issues, remembering that our audience isn't us, I think is so huge sometimes. Because in a way it is, but like you said, it's also everybody. It's also trying to get your product to absolutely everybody in need, everybody who could have a use for it. And I think sometimes when you're working in an industry like this and you're having these great ideas that you are so passionate about and so loved for, it can be hard to remember that it's more than just you and you're not selling it to you. You're trying to give it out to everyone else. So that's a good piece.
I love that because I talk to a lot of students. I see a lot of portfolios and I'm hearing an echo. So I want to make sure that's not still going. But I talk to a lot of students and they constantly are picking target demographics that are themselves. And, selling Red Bull to students on campus. If I see that portfolio, I'm going to throw up. Unless you do it like in a crazy, unique way we've never seen before. So I thought that this was very mature, admirable, shows your ability to research, understand audiences that are not yourselves. And that's so important. And diversity in your ideas is just incredible for your portfolio. And you as a human, as you just learn these things, it's so helpful as well. So
yeah, we all do it. We're all, people start conversations here all the time with focus group of one. It's like, or I know I'm not the target, but I relate with this target. Everybody does it. We all put ourselves in it. But yeah, I mean, more often than not, you are not the target. And we have to listen to the really smart people who do understand the target and really, take what they tell us and try and craft something to hit them. And the hardest target is like, hey, this type of brief of like, launch this to the masses, right? Like, this is everyone, go nuts. That's really hard, because there's a lot of different, players that play there and something like that. So I appreciate that you guys did focus.
Yeah.
I do love that. And that's why even beyond medical, like I was saying before, it's just like this idea of credibility, like that's your mass message, right? That's what, and then you kind of execute that shows up in different ways. And this is just one way I think that it could, but it's a great way.
I agree.
Yeah, I think going off of that, Kellyn, like one of the things besides trying to show credibility, which was like a sticking point of how this is better than something like ChatGPT or Bard, it was also in our secondary research, one thing we noticed about Bing specifically was that it was not as human focused as some of the other search engines and different AI platforms out there. There's a lot more like if you look at Google's in review video that they post every year, you'll see something about different social causes, different people that will show up for around the world. But when it comes to Bing, it was mostly, hey, why are we better than everyone else? But if you look at like the history of Microsoft, they do have a history of giving and trying to make the world a better place. So we wanted to try to use this new platform of AI to reintroduce that to the masses.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's something right there for sure. When something can truly be said that it's true about the brand, right? Like this is in our essence, this is in our DNA. That's always a big advantage versus just making something up and saying it's true.
Wonderful. Well, then any other questions about life? Preacher? Anybody want to talk about breaking into advertising at all? Any questions about, the job search as you finish up school, or if you want to break into an agency? You got one of the best in the industry right now, and it's not me. So ask Kellyn anything you want.
I have a few questions for you. My first one is very practical. So being the executive creative director, if you're looking to hire somebody and looking at their portfolio, what would be your advice to us being students when we go to actually create our portfolio? What should we be showing to employers? How can we best capture your attention?
Great question. Also big one. Of course, website, right? Like I go on LinkedIn only because I have to go on LinkedIn. Websites are very important. We truly don't care really where you go to school. I don't care what degrees you have. It doesn't matter to me. So your resume is the last thing I click on. The first thing I click on is your work. I need to see the work. I need to see the ideas. So it's, website, very clear. Who are you? What are you? And that is such a big part of it that you would be surprised at how few people are clear as to what they are. And it's hard, especially young people, because they're like, I'm a designer, I'm an illustrator, I'm an art director, I'm a writer, I don't know, and I'm like, well, I'm hiring an art director. I'm not hiring all those other things. And it's cool that you have those skills, right? Like that you're a really well-rounded person and you don't just bring one thing to the table. But I need you to be really, really good at that one thing. I need you to be able to show up as an art director. I don't need you to show up as a kind of a mediocre writer because I've got really good writers. I don't need you to show up as a mediocre designer because I've got really good designers. So you have to decide what is the thing you want to be. What is the one thing that you want to be? Now, again, it doesn't mean that you aren't all those other things too. You just have to lead with something. And then your work needs to pay that off. The very first thing I click on, I'm going to assume is your favorite thing. If it's the first thing in your portfolio, I'm going to assume that you think this is the best thing you've ever made. Sometimes, people have fun with the order of things. But yeah, I need to see that work. I need to see it clear, right? It needs to be quick. I don't have time to read, a 4-page monologue on your thought process. It's advertising. I don't get to go knock on people's doors and say, can I explain my commercial to you? Just, 5 minutes of your time, please. You need to be able to get it really quick. So those are just like fundamental.
How many campaigns? I mean, you're probably not running through all of them. You're usually looking probably for the first 2 or 3, but how many would you like to see?
So this is probably a controversial answer that I have, but I would rather see 3 amazing campaigns that you really think tell me exactly the type of creative you are, rather than 10 mediocre ones. Because I'm going to judge you by the worst thing in your book. Whatever that really bad thing is, and if I click on it, I'm going to be like, oh man, this is awful. Well, now all of a sudden, because that's human nature. That's what we do. We're not like, oh, but hold on, let me justify this. It's just like, you're looking at a lot of things. And if there's something in there that you're really not proud of, then that comes through and we can feel that. So I'd rather have less, honestly, than more. I think people are like, oh, well, I need a social campaign and I need an out-of-home campaign. I need if they're a writer, I need long copy. And it's just like, man, just no, give me your best ideas. Give me the best ideas, packaged up really well, really clearly, and crafted. And then let me take it from there. Cause I might see something in you that will immediately get me to where, you think you need to overly explain to me. Cause that's part of what we do, right? As creative directors, it's our job to be able to like see the talent and pull it out. So yeah, it's a lot of, I know that's like surface level stuff, but it's really important when we're looking at a spreadsheet of 100 books.
Right. And when you guys started off these intros, I figured I was thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And Kellyn, you started off with this. The first step is to know exactly what you want to do. And that sounds scary, but it is the first and the hardest step. Because once you know what you want to do and you listen to all the interviews that we do on this podcast, or you have conversations, I'll set you up with conversations with anybody that we've ever had on. That goes for anybody listening. You need to dive in and know those roles very well, and then know exactly what you want to do. Because when you come to me and say I can write and I can art direct, and I'm good with Adobe and I'm a writer, it tells me you're probably not very good at both or either, right? Have one direction that you want to go in that's really strong, and then back it up. I think that's really great advice. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
And someone listening to this is going to be like, no, let them be everything. And
nobody's saying that. I've literally never heard that on the podcast. 190 episodes. Nobody's ever said be a generalist.
People love to disagree with me.
I mean, to be curious is different, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Be curious and then figure out what you want to do and what you're good at, right? Like, that's my POV. That's what I've always. That's
the distinction I want to make. It doesn't mean that I want to stifle anyone's creativity. I want people to want to be a lot of things. And honestly, there are savants out there who can do it all, but they don't need me to look at their book. They're already hired.
And they're probably not in advertising. They might be doing something.
Advertising. That's true.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That's super practical and super helpful. And thanks for bringing that up, Gino. That was actually my other question. I think, when we started the interview and went through our introductions, a lot of us are in the same boat of trying to narrow it down. And do you have any advice on how to do that?
Mm-hmm. What do you like doing when you're not doing work? What is the thing that you get most excited about? All of it. I think you guys are all at that really, pivotal, scary, daunting point in your lives where you're like, oh my gosh, this decision is going to change everything. And I'm gonna have to do it forever. And then that just immediately makes it a job. And I don't think that anyone can do what we do in advertising agencies if they see it as purely, or the majority of it as a job. Of course, there are job elements to what we do. But on the creative side, especially, this has got to be what we're passionate about. This has got to be what we think is fun, because no one would do this job otherwise. No one would. So I always tell people, I'm like, do the thing that you want to do when you're not working. Like, what's your hobby? But make that your job. Like, make that the fun thing that you get to go to work and do every day. So you just got to sit with that and get to know yourself and really, and honestly, probably be brave, because it's probably going to be the scary thing.
Love it. I don't have anything to add. I think just what I would say is, if you don't just have some conversations as well.
Yeah. And
learn what they do in the day to day. It really helps to narrow things down. But yeah, I like to podcast in my free time. And at Havas, I kind of weaseled my way into producing 2 podcasts for the company. Mm-hmm. So I just figured out I like talking maybe too much, and I was able to be a comms director for Havas, and they're like, okay, we're gonna use Gino to make 2 podcasts now. And now I'm producing that and doing some comm stuff, talking a lot to students, everything kind of met up in the middle there. So just kind of following those passion points and making it happen too.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, internships, talking to people in the industry, really trying to figure out what you think. I didn't know. I mean, I knew sooner than most people knew. I'm a little crazy in that sense, but I thought I wanted to live in New York. I thought I wanted to work at massive agencies. All of that was wrong. all of that was not really what I wanted or what was right for me. So it is a process, and you have to experience things sometimes to know.
Thanks
Anybody
for
else?
sharing that. It's a huge weight lifted off of us.
And I'm happy to talk on the side as well. Like I can help figure it out and like introduce you to people and conversations. Any other questions for Kellyn, myself?
Yes, I had a question for Kellyn. I would like to know what a day in the life would look like for you.
For me as an ECD, or
as an ECD.
As an ECD. Okay. My days are incredibly exciting. I am so lucky that I get to come to work, and the first thing that I do is I get to walk into a room with people who are way smarter than I am. It's so true. The creative energy and minds that we have here are, it's mind blowing. Like the things that people bring to us. And I know that, like, I know my strengths right now in my career are guiding and leading, and not necessarily coming up with all the ideas on my own, like I used to with my headphones on in a dark room. So my day usually starts with, I go from meeting to meeting to meeting, right? Like usually it's split between creative internals, which means like, the safe space of being inside the agency without clients. And we all get in rooms like this one, and people show us all their ideas. And that's all part of the process. And then we go on to other meetings as ECDs that are sometimes a little bit more, like business related, whether it's agency or an account. The way Preacher works is we work in triangles, which I hold to such, this is like the magic of Preacher. I don't just work, it's not just like me and my creative people all in a corner, and then we tell everyone all of our brilliant ideas. I'm partnered with a brand manager and a strategist on every project. And it's not everyone's always like the executive level. Sometimes there's, junior strategists or mid-level brand managers, or, or vice versa, all around in these triangles. And we work hand in hand with one another. We are in lockstep. We are overly communicative. We share with each other what we think should happen, where our hearts and dreams are about a certain thing. And so I have a lot of meetings like that, where it's like getting on the same page with my coworkers, right? With my triangle partners, because it helps the work go through. It helps the process. It helps it honestly being a better place to work. It's healthier, all the things. So I have a lot of meetings spent like that. So yeah, it's basically a lot of creative reviews, a lot of internal, like manager stuff, and then managing clients. And then of course, client presentations. I usually have like one a day. It feels like I have a lot of client presentations. I'm on a lot of brands at the moment, which is fun. It makes it really exciting. And I think the biggest thing, my day-to-day is always somewhat unexpected. I never know exactly what's going to happen that day. Which I like. I like the fun and like, what am I going to see today that's going to be so great? Or what problem are we going to solve today that's going to, make a big difference and help people's lives? Not just on like a big, like, consumer level, but also just internally. Like if we can make someone's process go smoother, I love that. But yeah, that's the majority of the day. I mean, I'm here. I come in Mondays and Fridays. I don't. We have a hybrid situation, but yeah, we like to all be here together, and we have an amazing office. It's beautiful. It looks like a Soho house in here. So we're really lucky. We all eat here. Like we don't even like go out to we like all we like each other. We all like hang
That's important,
out.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's a tough.
You would too.
It's a great question. It's always a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna literally like prompt it. I was like, read off your Tuesday calendar.
Oh man, no. I mean,
no.
Yeah, it's like it's meeting. I just got a lot of meetings. There's a lot of meetings. Like when I don't have meetings,
read off every meeting, and I have calendar holds for this. Yeah. Any other questions for Kellyn? And also, we'll connect you guys on the side too if you have any other questions. But we have time for one more if you guys want. Now I have a question. Kellyn, how can they reach out to you on the side and the listeners, or if you want to just share that info with the Blue Crowbar winners because they're special, you can deny that.
It's no secret. There's stickies out. I love it. Anyone can email me anytime. It's just Kellyn@preacher.co. That's the tricky part. If you email preacher.com, I think it goes to someone at bible.com, so don't do that. But yeah, Kellyn@preacher.co. That's how all of our email addresses work. So any name you get a hold of at Preacher, you can do that. That's the trick. Told me that once. They were like, if you can find one email formula for the agency, we now have the entire agency's email address. Which they were very right. You guys are all very smart, talented people, and I'm excited to see what you all do wherever you go.